Have you ever stopped to think about all the important moments that might have slipped by because you didn't notice them? For many older men, the world of dating and attraction feels like a language they used to know well, but have forgotten over time. People often think that as you get older, you become less noticeable, less appealing, and less likely to be approached. This idea quietly gets into men's minds, creating a big mental block between them and the chances that are around them. When a younger woman starts talking to them, many men think she's just being friendly or polite, but they rarely think she might actually be interested. This misunderstanding isn't because men are clueless. It's because they've been taught to ignore hints, especially when it comes to romance as they get older. Think about how things change over time. When men are young, flirting is often playful, direct, and sometimes even a bit awkward. Both sides expect to see obvious signs like compliments, laughter, or brave invitations. But as people get older, things become more complicated. A younger woman interested in an older man probably won't make a big romantic gesture right away. Instead, she might approach him gently, testing the waters through conversation, questions, or shared moments. Unfortunately, many older men have a subconscious idea that they're no longer being looked at in that way. So they don't even look for the signs. They carry themselves in public places, cafes, bookstores, gyms, airports, as if connection is no longer possible. And in doing so, they unintentionally signal that they're not interested, even when opportunities are right in front of them. There's also a mental aspect to this. Many men think that flirting is only for young people, and that past a certain age, it's obvious if someone is interested. But real attraction is often quiet and subtle. It can show up in the way someone speaks, in the way they look at you, or in a simple question. When older men aren't paying attention to these little things, they get it wrong and think conversations are friendly when they're actually a sign of interest. This misunderstanding creates a problem. The woman sends a subtle signal, but the man misses it. She thinks he's not interested, and the connection is lost without either side even realizing what happened. What's even more interesting is how common this is. Many men have similar experiences because they misunderstand their own presence. They think their value has gone down as they get older, but in reality, their maturity, their stability, and life experience make them very attractive. The real problem isn't that women aren't interested. It's that men often don't notice when they are. Once you understand this, the world starts to look different. Everyday interactions aren't just background noise. They're full of signals waiting to be recognized. The difference between most men who miss out and a few who don't isn't luck, it's awareness. There's a particular kind of question that younger women often ask in a gentle yet deliberate way to show their interest. And it's so subtle that most older men dismiss it as casual conversation. It's not a pickup line. It's not a flirtatious compliment. And it's not something bold like asking for your number right away. Instead, it's usually a simple, almost throwaway question. Something like, do you come here often? Or is this your usual spot? Or even, what brings you here? To the untrained ear, it sounds like ordinary small talk, but to someone who is good at reading social cues, it's a moment with a lot of meaning. This is a way for her to see how you react without taking a risk. If you respond in a cold way or don't show much interest, she can back off without feeling embarrassed. But if you respond with warmth and friendliness, it lets her know you're open to getting to know her better. This is the secret question that most older men miss. It's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. When a younger woman asks if you go to a place often, she's not trying to figure out your daily routine. She's looking for a way to connect with you naturally. She wants to know if there's a chance to spend more time together, to create a shared experience, and maybe even turn a casual meeting into something more. It's her subtle way of saying, I noticed you, without saying it directly. The reason this question works well is because it's not scary. It lets her show interest without losing her cool or feeling awkward. Many older men miss this because they're listening for something loud. They're expecting big signs, clear signals, or open flattery. When they don't hear those, they think nothing is happening. But younger women often approach quietly because they want to test the man's response first. They're drawn to his calmness or confidence, but they're also careful. No one wants to be embarrassed by misunderstanding a situation. So they ask that one special question. It's like a gentle tap, waiting to see if you'll let her in. When a man responds with a quick, neutral answer, something like, yeah, followed by silence, he unknowingly shuts the door. But when he mirrors her interest, adds a bit of fun, or just digs a bit deeper, the whole thing changes instantly. Suddenly, the conversation isn't just about the coffee shop or the bookstore, it's about them. A spark starts to form in that shared moment. This is why understanding this question is so powerful. It's a doorway to new things. If you can learn to see it for what it is, you won't just get better at recognizing interest. You'll become more present, more confident, and more able to take chances that most people waste. I once talked to a man in his early 60s who told me a story that shows just how easily these moments can slip away. He was at a small, quiet bookstore, one of those old-fashioned places with creaky floors and a soft smell of paper in the air. As he stood in the travel section, looking through a book about Italy, a younger woman approached the same shelf. She glanced at the book in his hand and said with a friendly smile, "That's one of my favorites. Do you like to travel a lot?" He replied nicely, told her he'd always wanted to go to Italy, then nodded and went back to the shelf. In his mind, it was just a friendly conversation between people who didn't know each other. What he didn't notice was how she kept talking, waiting for him to join in again. When he didn't, she slowly walked away later. He told me, I realized she wasn't just asking about traveling. She was trying to talk to him, but he missed it. Moments like this happen every day. Another man I know, a retired teacher in his 50s, was at a coffee shop. A younger woman in line behind him made a joke about how long the line was. She laughed, he laughed, and then she asked, "Do you come here often?" He smiled and said sometimes, then looked back at his phone. What he didn't see was the look of disappointment on her face. She had given him a chance to make the moment special, but he accidentally shut it down without meaning to. When he thought about it, he realized that her tone, her body language, even the way she leaned in slightly, all of it had been showing that she was interested in talking to him. But because he didn't think women her age could possibly like him that way, he just thought they were being polite. These real-life moments are powerful because they're not unusual, they're normal. Every day, men are surrounded by chances to really connect with people they meet in cafes, bookstores, airports, gyms, and grocery stores, yet most of them don't see it. It's not that these women are being mysterious or playing games. They're often being friendly in a natural and relaxed way. The sad thing is that many older men with their own ideas miss these hints completely. They think friendly questions are just neutral. They think curiosity is just being casual, and they walk away without knowing that someone actually tried to talk to them. What's striking is how small the difference can be between missing the moment and taking it. A simple question, a friendly smile, or just holding someone's eye for a little longer can change everything. These are the kinds of moments that don't make a big show of themselves. They come quietly and are often hidden in everyday words. And it's only later that people realize how important they are. The people who start to notice these clues often find that their social experiences change. Suddenly, conversations that used to end quickly start to flow. Interactions feel easier and more enjoyable. New opportunities appear where there was just background noise before. Real-life stories like these remind us that attraction doesn't always come with big displays. It often starts with a single question that seems small and what you choose to do next. The change starts in your mind before it shows up in how you interact with others. Most older men have spent years thinking that romantic signs should be clear, like something from their younger days. But modern attraction, especially with younger women, works on a more subtle level. By understanding this, you need to change how you see situations. Instead of thinking a woman's nice question is just a friendly chat, ask yourself, what's behind this moment? This doesn't mean overthinking everything or thinking every conversation is flirting. It means paying attention to the feelings behind the words. When you train yourself to listen between the lines, you start to see patterns that were always there, but you hadn't noticed before. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about letting go of old doubts and bad habits that have covered up your natural social sense. Think about how over the years you've probably gotten better at reading people in a work setting, picking up on subtle changes in tone during a conversation, or sensing when someone is hiding something. You can use that same skill in your personal life, but you might need to remember how to do it. A lot of men think that because they're older, they're no longer good with women. But confidence doesn't come from trying to be young again. It comes from being comfortable with who you are. When you're confident, you stop waiting for obvious signs and pay attention to little things like body language and the questions people ask. Another key part of this is feeling okay with making mistakes. A lot of men hold back because they're scared of getting it wrong. Many people would rather pass up an opportunity than feel embarrassed. But true confidence isn't about always being correct. It's about feeling at ease with any outcome. If a woman asks a question that's just being polite and you answer her warmly, nothing bad happens. It's just a nice conversation. But if her question was a sign that she's interested and you respond with confidence, you open a door that many men keep shut. Over time, this creates a new pattern. The more you notice these signs and respond with interest, the more good experiences you have and the easier it is to trust your instincts. Being respectful plays a big part in this change. This isn't about turning every conversation into a flirt or trying to figure out what someone is thinking. It's about respecting the courage it takes for someone to talk to you and matching that with your own honesty. When you start seeing these moments not as challenges or exams, but as chances to connect, everything changes. You stop being the person who walks through life without paying attention, and you become someone who fully takes part in the present moment. This change in thinking doesn't just make you more interesting, it makes you more alive. It lets you build real connections, create shared experiences, and notice when someone sees you, not just as a person passing by, but as someone they want to get to know better. This is where everything you learned turns into action, because being aware but not doing anything doesn't change anything. It's not enough to simply understand that women give subtle hints or to recognize the hidden questions when they arise. You have to react to them in a different way. When a younger woman asks you that innocent question, it's your chance to lean in with genuine attention instead of pulling back into politeness or self-doubt. Most men let these chances slip away because they either don't think the other person is really interested or they don't know how to handle the situation. But the men who stand out are the ones who respond warmly, show curiosity, and have a bit of playful confidence. You don't need a scripted line or a clever comeback. What matters is that you engage. A simple, genuine response that keeps the conversation going can make a big difference. When you treat her question as an invitation instead of background noise, you signal that you're open, grounded, and confident in who you are. This doesn't mean trying too hard or turning every interaction into a romantic pursuit. The goal is to stop just going through the motions and start being more intentional. When you notice the cue and respond thoughtfully, you're no longer part of the 97 who overlook opportunities. You step into that rare 3 who actually notice. You become someone who meets people where they are, who shows interest in a natural way. It's easy as being friendly and responding to hers. If she asks, "Do you come here often?" you might smile and say, "Yeah, it's my usual place. I've been coming here for years. Maybe I'll see you around again." That's not a way to try to pick someone up. That's being confident when people are curious. You're not trying to force interest. And that kind of energy is attractive because it shows you're sure of yourself without being pushy. The real key here is being consistent. The more you practice being aware and responding to these small moments, the more natural it becomes. Instead of overthinking every conversation, your answers will start to feel normal. You'll begin to trust your instincts and read the energy of the moment clearly. This change can spread into all parts of your life, not just romantic situations, but friendships, work, and everyday meetings. You'll feel more awake, more aware, and more connected to the world around you. The main thing to do is simple but powerful. Pay attention. Don't ignore those casual questions, those short looks, or those brief moments that seem normal at first glance. They often turn out to be the most important ones. When you start responding with confidence and presence, you turn ordinary moments into real possibilities. You stop just going through life like a spectator and start living your own story. The opportunities have been there all along, waiting for you to notice, engage, and let something real happen. When you start paying closer attention to these moments, something amazing happens. Your presence starts to be more noticeable than what you say. Younger women aren't looking for someone to impress them with big gestures or clever things to say. They're drawn to the quiet, calm confidence that comes from a man who truly sees them and listens. Age isn't as big of an issue for men as it seems. For many women, it can actually be a good thing. As people get older, they often become more stable emotionally, feel more secure, and are more comfortable talking to others. But if you don't show it, these qualities might not be noticeable. When you think before you respond to a quiet question, when you look at someone a little longer, and when your voice sounds warm and sure, you're saying a lot without needing to prove anything. The truth is, women pay attention to how a man carries himself more than most men think. If you walk around with your head down staring at your phone or think nobody is paying attention to you, you're sending a secret message that you're not interested. On the other hand, if you're present, friendly, and open, even in small ways, like smiling or starting a short conversation, you can change the energy around you. Suddenly, those questions that once felt random begin to feel planned. They become chances to get closer, and your ability to notice them makes you stand out. What often surprises men when they make this change is how easy it is. They start to see that these signals were never uncommon. They just went unnoticed. That moment when a younger woman asks you a simple question isn't a coincidence. It's often her way of showing you that she finds something about you interesting. If you respond with the same curiosity and openness, you let her know it's okay to keep getting to know you without worrying about being rejected or feeling awkward. That's where real attraction starts, not in big actions, but in small shared moments that happen naturally. This awareness also frees you from the stress of always trying to figure things out. When you trust your instincts and feel calm and confident, you don't have to think too much about every conversation. You just respond in a real way, and the important conversations happen naturally. It's not about trying to impress anyone. It's about letting your presence and paying attention do the talking. When you think this way, you start to see that connections are not something you have to go after. They're just something you notice and welcome. And that's exactly what makes a man really memorable. Regardless of how old he is, many men don't realize just how much a small exchange can mean when it's handled with real awareness. A single moment of understanding, a shared smile, a thoughtful answer, a funny joke can change the whole direction of a conversation. What makes one man create real connections and another man miss them isn't being charming or good looking. It's being able to be present in the moment and trusting that his presence is important. When you understand that the conversation is actually a chance to connect, you give both yourself and the other person permission to explore something real. The good thing is that it doesn't mean you need to change who you are. You don't have to memorize lines or try to be someone you're not. You just need to be fully engaged, listen carefully, and feel comfortable meeting the other person halfway. Think about how most conversations go when you're in public. Two people walk by each other, exchange a few polite words, and then go their separate ways. But sometimes there's a moment when something feels a little different, a touch more personal, a bit more curious. That's the moment when you have a choice. You can either let it pass like everyone else does, or you can pause, pay attention, and respond with your presence. When you choose the latter, you immediately stand out from the vast majority of men who are too distracted or unsure of themselves to notice what's happening. And in that choice lies the possibility of connection. As you keep practicing this level of awareness, it becomes less about individual moments and more about how you live your life. You start to carry yourself with a calm confidence that makes people want to talk to you. Your energy shows that you're friendly, listening, and interested, which makes women more likely to start conversations with you. They sense that you'll notice their attempts, that you won't ignore their hints, and that makes them feel more comfortable around you. Over time, this builds a kind of energy. Instead of worrying if chances will come, you start to see that they're already all around you. The change isn't sudden or forced, it's natural. One small moment leads to another, and gradually your conversations become deeper, more meaningful, more common. You stop looking at these encounters as rare or unlikely and start seeing them as a normal part of everyday life. This not only improves your romantic connections, but also boosts your overall confidence. You start to see yourself as someone who can read the world clearly and confidently, not as someone who's been left behind. That's what sets the three apart. They don't wait for opportunities to be obvious. They notice things, respond to them, and let real connections happen. This is the moment everything comes together: your awareness, mindset, the subtle signs, and your confidence. Once you learn to recognize these signals and respond to them honestly, you stop watching from the sidelines and start fully participating in your interactions. The power of this shift isn't just in getting someone's attention, it's how it changes you. Suddenly, you're no longer second-guessing every glance or overthinking every word. You start to trust your ability to sense what's really going on, and you can move through these moments with ease. The fear of missing out on opportunities is replaced by a quiet feeling that you'll know when something important is happening. That level of self-assurance is very attractive. It draws people in, and it's not because you're trying too hard, but because you're fully present in a way that most people aren't. You start to notice how your interactions feel. Different conversations don't fizzle out as often as they build. You're not anxiously wondering if someone is interested because you can tell from their tone, their eyes, their body language. You're not scrambling for the perfect response. You're simply being in the moment. And when a younger woman asks that seemingly simple question, you don't brush it off. You lean into it. You focus on her being present and charming. You show curiosity, and that's where a real connection starts. It's not about using tricks or lines, but being genuine. This connection grows over time. Each time you notice and respond, you feel more confident, which makes you even more aware the next time. It's like a skill that gets stronger with practice. Before long, you're not just one of the few who notice these things. You are it. You carry yourself differently now. You walk into rooms with a sense of ease. You stop thinking that attraction is only for young people and realize that real connection is for anyone who's willing to see it and respond. This is where you're in your element, not because you're trying to chase something, but because you're fully alive and participating in moments that most people miss. That's the real change.